Welcome to the Making of Me podcast. Today I'm joined by Dr. Agi Keramidas, mentor, coach, and host of the Global Top 1% of our podcast, Personal Development Mastery. Agi's work is all about clarity, purpose, and turning insights into action. It's really a pleasure having you on the show, Dr. Agi.
The pleasure is all mine. Thank you for the invitation. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, thank you. So, Dr. Agi, what were some of the challenges that shape you into who you are today?
I will tell you one which was a big one, which was also a big transition of mine. And that was when I decided to leave my home country, Greece, so that's where I'm from originally, and move to England, to the UK, on my own. So I left at that time everything in the life that I had known behind, and started on my own in a new country. I was in my 30s at that time. So that was, understandably, I think a big challenge when you leave all the people you know,
Yeah.
even the language was different. Everything was, it was a new environment. So it was a great decision. I never regretted it. Very happy, and I am the person that I am today to a large extent because I took that decision.
Wow,
Yeah.
amazing. So you started out in dentistry, a very respected and structured career. At what point did you feel the pull towards something more aligned with purpose?
It was around, I had just gotten into my office, and for those of you listening that have gone through that period of time, they are older than that, they probably recognize that there is something that happens to most people at that time. So I think that was the time that I first realized that dentistry, which I had been doing for 15 years by then, it wasn't something that I want to do for another 15 years. I was not feeling, a satisfaction in my heart. It was never, I would never say, oh, I'm so excited to go to work tomorrow morning. This never happened. So that was when it started for me to change the way that I was thinking about it, to realize that there's something else going on. And then it was the beginning of my midlife awakening, or my journey of self-exploration.
Wow, amazing. So many people actually feel stuck in career that looks successful from the outside. How did you know it was time to listen to the inner voice rather than ignore it?
The inner voice has a certain characteristic which I think, again, perhaps you or the listener can relate to them. In the beginning, when you have some inner nudge or some calling, the inner voice is a whisper, so it speaks very lowly. And it's very easy to ignore it because it's not loud. The voice of our mind is much louder than that, so it often gets drowned and ignored. But the thing is that when we keep ignoring the inner calling, it starts speaking louder and louder. So there are events that happen in our life, or there are things that make us realize that, I shouldn't ignore that much more. And if, despite of that, many people still ignore that, then the inner voice gives you a kick and throws you down, and that could be an illness, it could be an accident. There is some event that really makes you pay attention, that you can't ignore anymore. Thankfully for me, because I have realized that progression of the intensity of how our inner voice speaks to us, because I had realized that, I did not wait for the kick. So when it was clear enough, I started taking some small action towards doing something different than dentistry without really knowing at that time what it would be. But it was a small action, or that then led to another small action. So it progressed in a period of time. It was not like, just once and everything changed.
Yeah, amazing. So your podcast is the top 1% of global. Congratulations on that. So how has hosting deep conversations week after week shaped you personally?
How long do you have for this conversation? Look, I will tell you, perhaps a couple of things that come up for me now that you say it. First of all, obviously, I have been changed very much as a person over the years, 6, 7 years now, and over 300 guests that I
Oh,
have interviewed. So, I mean, I have changed in so many ways. I will tell you a couple that come to my mind. One is that when I started, had and perhaps you personally might also resonate with that because you are in early stages and you're doing a great job, by the way.
yeah.
So let me
Thank you.
congratulate you. I see
Thank you.
that you're doing a lot of work out there and many episodes. So that's great.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes. So initially, when I started, I would see my guests as in a higher level or a pedestal. So I would be, the person that's speaking to them, and the more I kept on doing it, the more I realized that, it is, in the end, it is a conversation between
Yeah.
peers, if you look at it like that and if you treat it like that. Of course, it took me a while to go there, but that's one realization that comes to my mind after all these years. I have taken many practical things or many actions that I have taken from my different guests and I implement into my life. And I will give you a simple example. For example, I had a guest that he taught me during the podcast a simple breathwork technique. So it takes like 3 minutes to do it, and I have been doing it. I mean, that was a few years ago, and I have been doing it often, perhaps not every day, but whenever I need or I feel the desire to calm down or ground myself or do some relaxation quick, I go to that and do that breathwork technique and I do it. And that is only one example. I have taken bits and pieces of the wisdom that my guests have shared in the podcast and implemented that. And that's why I said earlier that you might relate and resonate, because the more you do it, the more you will pick up and learn, because you get to ask the questions, and that's a great position to be in.
Yeah, amazing. So true. I mean, so and just hearing you make reference of it, you speak volume, because that was actually the reason why I actually get started. I said I want to kind of learn a whole lot from those who has gone far ahead, how their journey have actually shaped them who into what they have become, and yeah, just hear that perspective and see different light, and that's really be amazing for me. So yeah. So you often say our personal development is about actions, not information. Why do you think so many persons get stuck consuming instead of doing?
There are two reasons come to my mind, and I like your question. One thing is that we like learning. Learning gives us something, at least for most people, for many people who enjoy that, because some people do not care about this, but we're not talking about them. So they enjoy learning, and it is easy in the time that we live in. You can get any book you want, you can find online everything that you want to learn. So that gives you some satisfaction. When you learn something new, you feel good. Then the next step, though, which is what makes the real change, is when you take action on what you have learned by a book or a podcast. And there is a big difference between the two. And the reason, because you asked me about the reason, one reason is that the action will take us usually out of a comfort zone. So in order I read about something in a book, and it says, do meditation for 15 minutes. If I'm not used to it, I might, feel, how can I sit still for 15 minutes or whatever excuse might come up. And because it would take me out of my comfort zone of what I am used to, do and have around, that puts a barrier, a resistance towards actually taking the action. That's one reason. Another reason for many people is they put it off. So they don't say, no, I'm not going to do it. Oh, I'll do that one day, which is a very, very clever trick of our mind, because that one day never comes. There's never one day. These things, when you read something and you want to implement it, or at least, put it in your calendar and say, I'm going to implement it the 1st of March or whatever. If you say one day I will do it, it's going to be forgotten. And I think these are two of the reasons that There are many more, I think, that people do not take action based on what they know. But unfortunately, it's only when we take action that things change and we grow. We can learn all the books there are. If we don't do anything with them, we're not
Yeah, we're
much
still who we are.
further forward. Yeah.
Yeah, amazing, amazing, amazing. So looking back, what daily habits or small actions had the biggest impact on your confidence and clarity?
One, I mentioned already meditation. Meditation is a daily routine for me, and I have gone through phases where I used to spend much longer times. Nowadays, I only do 15 minutes, which I find is enough for my schedule. That is one routine that certainly can say it has made a big impact in my life, because those 15 minutes, there are many reasons, and probably no, I won't get into that. I will tell you another routine that I feel has very much helped me to understand myself better, and that is journaling. Every day I have kept a journal where I write, my thoughts, my lessons from the day, or what I managed to achieve, perhaps, or mistakes, whatever. So I have been doing that every day for many years now. I think it's close to 10 years now, 9 years. So it is, over the years, I have really expressed out on a piece of paper things that were only internally within me, and that I would recommend to anyone who has not ever tried it, because it's very different when we have thoughts in our mind and when they are written, when we are forced to write them down. Perhaps not forced, that's not the right word, but when we try to write our
Yeah,
thoughts down on paper, we have to really define them clearly. In our mind, it is more fuzzy.
yeah,
When you write it down, it has to be more precise, so that
yeah.
gives you clarity of what's going on up here. So these are two of the practices, that daily actions that made and still do make a huge difference.
Wow, amazing, amazing. So you have interviewed hundreds of thought leaders. What is one lesson that keep coming up, or no matter the background or success level?
Thank you for this question. One of the things that, among different people, different backgrounds, different countries, and so on, that I have spoken with, there is often this theme of, journey and progress, and something that is not about, and I'm talking about life, I'm talking
Yeah,
about our careers or whatever it is that we experience, that there is a natural progression which we have to take, same way as everyone else has taken. And I'm saying that because, especially with social media nowadays, it's very easy to see other people, successful people, and assume that they are successful and I'm not there yet.
yeah,
But what we fail to realize when we think like that is that that person that is successful, assuming that they are really successful,
yeah,
because many times on social media, it's not the honest truth of what happens. But let's say that they are very successful indeed. What we fail to realize is that that person did not just become successful out of nothing. They have gone through their own journey. They have put their own effort, and they've had their own failures. There is that phrase that says it takes years to become an overnight success. So
hmm,
there is a journey for all of us. So I think that's a recurring theme that I have seen with many of my guests. That realization of how life is and how we can look at our life. When we see it as a journey, it is, a different perspective we have about what's happening on our day to day.
yeah, amazing, amazing. Thanks for sharing. This is really, really, really lovely being that. Yeah, amazing. So for listener who knows what they want deeply down but just still feel afraid to act, what would you say to help them take that first honest step? For listener who knows what they want deep down but still feel afraid to act, what would you say
Okay,
to help them take the
right.
first honest step?
So deep down, they know what they want, of course. And my invitation to someone who listens to us or watches us and is like that is to take a very small action towards it. And I'm saying that because something that is big or something that would really take you out of your comfort zone, we talked about this a few minutes ago, creates more resistance and it's more difficult to motivate ourselves to do it.
Yeah.
So what I would invite someone is to take a very small step towards that thing that they know deep inside that they want. The smallest of action. It can be browsing a website that is related to that. Or,
Yeah.
calling a friend that knows something about it. Just to have a chat. Just a small action. You will be amazed what can happen as a result, as an outcome of that small action. There are
Yeah.
something else that may come up and something else that may come up. So that's my invitation. Don't do anything that makes you feel, oh my God, how well I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Commit
Take
to
the first
do
step.
something very small, but do it. Do it by the end of the day today. And
Yeah.
don't leave it for one day. Do it today.
Yeah, amazing. I think this is really amazing, especially for me too. When I was thinking about more like doing podcasts, yeah, at one point I was like, how will I get to interview guests? What have I actually more like accomplished in my being around? Like how it was more like a big goal for me, and I was like, how do I actually get started? And just hearing me reference of start small. It's just people. For me, there was a particular code that even helped me as a them, and it was. I'll let it first start and then we can make it better. Because sometimes the idea of saying I need it to be excellent. I need it to be top notch. I need it to everything to be perfect. Not knowing that perfection sometimes is the enemy of you beginning that particular stuff. Being that you just have to figure out that I want it perfect without taking any action. Whereas those that
Mhm.
got it perfect, their first episode was messy. So take the little baby step first and later figure it out and get better at the time. Yeah.
I think that's the normal way that things go. I could say the same for me. If I
Yeah.
think about my episode 1 and episode 2, I would really not enjoy listening to that. It is, as I
Yeah.
was saying earlier, it is a journey with that. And I'm glad that you are on this journey.
Yeah, thank you so much, Aggie. So Aggie, for my audience who want to connect with you or who want to learn more from you and who want to reach out to you too for more, and how can they reach out to you and where is the best platform?
My podcast is called Personal Development Mastery. So you will find it on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and the website is also personaldevelopmentmasterypodcast.com. And you will find there links to wherever you want to contact me with.
Yeah.
I will be very happy to hear from you. So reach out and whatever it is I can help with, I will be happy to.
Yeah, thank you so much, Aggie. And definitely the link to your website is going to be added to the show notes so that my audience can easily reach out. Yeah, thank you for sharing your journey and your clarity so openly. Thank you so much. And for my audience who want to reach out, look at all the show notes. You see a link to reach out to him. And once again, it's a pleasure and honor having you on the show again.
It's a real pleasure. Thank you so much.